Zach, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. We've done it.
We've done it. And is it cool that I'm on the show here? So,
Absolutely.
okay, great. So I'm talking to Zach Rivkin, who is in the 1800 to 1900 cohort and is going to be playing, I guess it's their first tournament in a long time, right?
Yeah. So first tournament since I just looked up my old USCF profile from 2009 was the last one.
Oh, man. And what was your rating back then?
1853. And so
Uh-huh.
I get to play in the under 1900 section, and who knows how good I actually am these days.
Okay. Okay. I would say, expectations low. Because two things. One, obviously you're probably rusty, but also it's there's a strong argument to be made that play has improved in general. And the nasty thing probably for you, I don't know exactly what it's gonna look like there, but you'll probably be playing, I'm gonna guess, a lot of young Asian kids. That's the kind of the par for the field now these days, and they're strong kids.
That's consistent with what I'm expecting.
And do you know either Knows All, whose name is Michael Franco, or Jack Stengline?
Yeah, we talk sometimes in the Discord channels.
Okay, cool. Because I think you might see him there in Austin.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm going to Vegas for the National Open or whatever it's called.
Oh, okay. So it's not a tournament in Austin.
Yeah, yeah,
It's in
yeah.
Vegas. So that's isn't that early June?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's a great tournament. Um, I played that a bunch of times. Pruess played that a bunch of times. Kostya's played it. Well, that's great. And so I'm guessing you're a little nervous, and now though you're going to train a little bit before the hand.
Yeah, I've been going through the woodpecker methods and then some of the other resources that you have in the syllabus. And the woodpecker methods have taken a lot out of me, so much that I haven't been updating my progress for the past month and a half, it looks like.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely, woodpecker's great for what you're doing. Definitely, you should log it. The other thing that I would think would be very important is to play some longer games before.
Do we have, I guess the round robin ones didn't sync to my profile. Let me go and try and add those or send them your way. But if you
Yes.
go to the 1800 1900 round robin,
Yeah.
or 1 second.
So the bummer there is my student was in here forever and he was waiting forever to get this one started. He's also in this one. And there is, we do have two tournaments ongoing already, but I think the next one will probably be take a moment before it starts.
Yeah.
But definitely some longer games. Nose would be a great person. Maybe you could even play IRL. I don't know. Jack would be also a good person to spar against. Those guys would also be amenable to doing a post-mortem analysis afterwards.
Yeah.
And I'm going to assume that the tournament in Vegas is going to be 90 plus 30, right?
Yes.
And one funny thing about this tournament I'm just noticing here is 60-30 is the minimum. And so we should be better about explaining that because 90-30 is actually better. It's just 60-30 is just the minimum for this. Once you get to 2000, we say you have to do 90 plus 30. Oh, I
Yes. In our Discord, I just sent you the classical games from Lee Chess that I played against other dojo members.
Oh, and you just haven't put it in yet to
Yeah.
to the thing. And did you annotate those games?
I did postmortems with most of these folks, and maybe one or two have annotated, but not to the level that you'd be happy with.
Right. Okay. Um, and is that rating kind of I can tell by this question mark here that it's not an established rating, right? That's like a preliminary rating.
Yeah, it's going up and down. The When I joined the dojo on chess.com, I was 2300 rapid, and then just wasn't playing classical games. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure where I'm at these days.
Yeah. Okay, so if we go back to your thing over here, I would say, go back, that you're doing great with the woodpecker, that you should definitely log your hours. Even if, like at this point, let's say you don't know exactly how many hours you've done, just put it all on one day. And, let's say you think you've done 50 hours, just put 50 hours in one day. That's okay. You'll get credit for the time and then log it every day, because that'll give you a sense of what you're doing, right? It'll also give a sense here on your breakdown of what percentage of things you've done. And in general, these ones don't really count. These are 5-0 games, right? That's not going to help.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out how to upload to the system. And then, but I need to actually put the real games and then annotate them as well.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard when people just begin to annotate the games. It was definitely the case for me that it was hard. But it's a great process, and it'll get you kind of flowing for the tournament. And anything is important, but I would say those two things: keep doing the woodpecker and annotate the games. And maybe even I can take a look at one of them after you've done it, and we can kind of check out your process.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I'll go and do that.
Cool. And so you say you're working you're doing tech stuff there in Austin?
Yeah. Started a software company 5 years ago, and
cool.
been a fun ride. Having a good time, and moved out during the pandemic and like it a lot out here.
Nice. We started 5 years ago. I don't know if we're always having a good time. But yeah, we're probably a much smaller version of what you've got going on.
I met David Pruess at a pro chess league event in San Francisco back when I lived there. And,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool seeing him on a lot of the videos here.
Yeah, me and Pruess were both living in the Bay Area at that time.
Yeah, if I can ever be helpful to you guys on just how you're running things or setting up things behind the scenes, more than happy to. I'm sure you got it all figured out, but
No. If you have any thoughts, we are very welcome. Jack is an interesting story. Maybe somebody even similar to you. He has a very fancy job at Google. We don't even know exactly what he does, but he's got some very fancy job there. Yesterday it was hilarious. We were having a dojo meeting, and we have a little spreadsheet of tasks to do. We have like P1 and P2 for priority. And he goes, I just got a P0. And I was like, oh, that was the first time I've heard P0. Anyways, he's getting P0s there from Google. And he was, a chess player. And he was like, I want to help you guys out. He first just started out with a little project. And then he's the mastermind behind most of what you see in terms of like UI and programming stuff here on the site.
Very cool. I used to code, but my engineers don't let me touch the code base anymore for good reason. And then, but on the product and growth side, I know you guys do a lot of cool things, so maybe it could be useful there. But I also don't want to get in your way or step on toes. But it's super cool what you guys have built, and it's very impressive, especially seeing what it was like a couple of years ago too.
Oh, you saw us a couple of years ago?
Yeah. It's been awesome seeing that.
Yeah,
it's also cool you keep the videos up on YouTube from years ago. I've been going through those.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's been fun. But yeah, thanks so much. I'll circle back once I've annotated some games and updated the tracker.
Yeah, great. And if you have any ideas of how to help us, just reach out. We always need help.
Cool. Yeah, thanks so much, Jesse.
All right, bye.
Yep.
All right, my friends. That was Shock Steel. Did a little, let's call that a consult. We did a consult. He's done a lot more here. He hasn't logged it like a lot of other people. And he's going to be playing his first tournament in forever, early June, National Open, one of the classic American Opens. I'd say one of the better American Opens, for sure. He's going to be playing the under 1900 section. He's probably going to get killed. His last USCF rating was 1850 something, and hasn't played in a while. But as long as his expectations aren't through the roof, I think he's going to have a good time. Okay, your brother is not hurt. What are we doing right now? We are doing the ChessDojo Training Program Graduate Show. We started it a little bit unconventionally today. Yesterday we did the under 1000s, and today we're going to be doing the over 1000s. So we're going to click here, boom. And let's start at the very top. We have, whoa, this is a big one here over here. Christopher Atkinson. Christopher says, I reached 2187 in November 24 and graduated, but I went back down. Finally made it to 2200 USCF and got the NM title. I just want to say congratulations. I know that is not an easy thing to do, definitely a landmark. And he says, which has been a lifetime goal. I took 2 months off from playing, but I'm back at it again. Yeah, you got to take a break. You got to celebrate a little bit. The dojo taught me the importance of analyzing my games, and I hope to continue learning and improving. I started playing in 2014, played my first tournament game in 2019. That's amazing. That's amazing. Turned 30 in 24, and we'll see how much more I can improve before things start stalling. Okay, brilliant. Let's go take out a look over at Christopher. Oh, you know what I'm supposed to do? I'm supposed to do it a little bit better here. I'm supposed to go, ooh, there we go. So here's Christopher. And he's got a ChessDojo shirt, dude. UC Berkeley 2017. Nice. Okay. So there you see, he's 2200 USCF, took a break after he achieved it. Shouldn't feel bad if he dips below. Right? And then 2290 is the next graduation. So that's a good goal. That's 90 points of definitely very hard work. Okay. FIDE, a little bit slow, a little bit, what are we going to call that? Similar or something? Okay. And he did one test and had a hard time with it. All right. We're going to reboot our tactics in the next coming months after we get 4.0 out the door. Okay. So let's go look. Clubs. SF Bay Area. Great. Now we got some games. Your brother is not hers says, so I joined your website. What do I do now? I would say, watch this show for a little bit. Watch this show for a little bit. It's a good introduction. Right here is the heat map. This is where you're going to log your stuff. We're going to have a training plan. And what I do in this show is I take a look at some games that people have played OTB. Now, this one I'm partial to because it's 90-30. But it was a little bit longer ago. Which one should I do? All right, let's go this one. Boom. All right, first let's take a look at the clocks. We don't have clocks. Chris, of course, you can bring in the clocks. Very helpful. All right, so let's see what we got. Okay. So this is let's call it a fancy system. I was going to call it lugubrious. Lugubrious motion of the bishop. But okay, we're not going to say anything bad about it. Black can do a number of things. He plays e6. d4 now seems natural. Probably nothing wrong with castles, though. Rook e1. d4. Okay. Good. So, Queen c7. This move I'm not certain of. I don't feel great about that move for him. And I would say this is definitely a first kind of critical question here. To my mind, d5 looks like an advantage for sure because the knight is going to be misplaced. e5 also looks pretty strong. So both of those moves look strong, and this move, I feel you're maintaining your advantage, but maybe we're missing a little opportunity that, you know. Bishop d7, knight f1, very patient. Rook a c8. And what's important to see about this rook a c8, if he doesn't open the c file, that's not actually developed. So now both e5 and d5 again look good. Okay, so he bolts, good. Now, since there's no cd ever, that rook on c8 isn't doing anything. Knight d5. He creates a mate threat. Okay. Has to be okay. Now, I do want to say this is a great position for white, but especially because black isn't doing anything. But let's see how you handle the attack here. Queen d2. Okay, this one strikes me as a little weird. More natural to me would be queen e4, intending h4, h5, queen g4. Because queen d2, well, let's just say your position's got to be amazing. He should play bishop e8. He goes bishop f8. Now you have queen g5. Okay, good. Knight a5. I don't know what he's doing. Let's play h4. Queen h4. Okay, probably good too. I don't know what he's doing. Check to the miserable pawn. Check to the miserable pawn. Okay. Now, I'm not certain about what's happening here. I want to stress that. So, back, and now queen e7, queen h3. And I guess your claim is that you're just crushing him. I'm a little nervous that our pieces aren't 100% here. This next move can't be it, rook d7. That wasn't it. Now, is he completely hosed? Well, probably. Probably. Could he get away with king h7? I guess that would be my question. You said bishop g5. Well, that's got to be a good move. So black is already totally toast. And go back here. You criticize queen g5. It's definitely kind of like your intention. This is if queen g5 is a mistake, then really it's like queen d2 was weird. Because clearly when you play queen d2, this is your intention, to play your queen over like that. And this, to me, knight a5, is a good example of somebody who doesn't understand force count. And what I mean by that is there's let's say a quantity of force in front of his king. And when he's now going to go away from that with both the knight and then the bishop, and no lo puedo. So in addition to bishop g7, probably knight e7, f5 would be the other thing. Just to be mindful, as the kids say, to be mindful of the force count in front of the king. DC channel Twitch. I might look at it later, but right now I am doing the graduate show. Okay, so he falls apart. Let's look at your technique now. You're obviously winning. Good. I just want to say, it looks to my naive, oh, I see, he wants to play on b3, knight a3 to tag your bishop is his intention. You're killing him. Look at how dead that bishop on a6 is. Simple chess. Bishop e4 is a lot simpler though, right? Okay. Good. Check to the miserable king. He should honestly resign here. Okay, so Christopher, well done. I love your narrative. And I think one of the problems after making NM is it's hard to know what to do next as a reasonable goal. right? Definitely the dojo graduation, which we saw was 2290, would be a thought. And then, of course, FM, which is holding 2300, could be the next goal after that. Both of them not so easy. All right, but congratulations. That was great. Let's move on. Next up, we have Mr. Tiggy Kitten. Regular classical time limit games and killer chess weekly puzzles also helped. Fun fact, Kostya is going to go hang out with the killer chess people in, I don't know, next month. Maybe it's later this month. So here's Mr. Tiggy Kitten. Oh, I have a delicious cup of coffee going on right now. And he has got great progress over here. Look at all these badges he's got. What's going on? He's got a lot of badges. Well, so stinking badges. He's got a lot of badges. Now, it's definitely weird when we look over here. He's got a bunch of non-dojo stuff. Let's see what we got here. So what is all this non-dojo stuff? Correspondence chess, killer chess homework, Chessable. Now, let me just say that it's kind of funny. Generally, what we do here is, let's say you have some killer chess homework and it's tactics. Then you create a custom task for that, and we call that tactics. So I don't know what's going on here. Maybe that's the old way or something. Because I know in the olden times, we have we had the non-dojo. So I'm just going to ask our people what's going on. Yesterday I got yelled at. I was like, great stream, bro. Making administrative notes while the stream is going. I got it, it's just dojo time over here. All right, clubs. We got loads, 50 plus, English, great. Games, no games. My experience, it's generally the higher rated players that don't have the games. And my theory is, though, I'm kind of alone here. My theory is it's because the people who have kind of made it a little distance in chess, their ego is so wrapped up in the game, it's hard to be self-critical while looking at the games. Okay. All right, let's go. Keep going. This is CC Slammer. Congratulations, Mr. Tiggy Kitten. CC Slammer says, I've been enjoying the structure of the dojo, and I finally hit my goal of 2,000 ChessCom. Very nice. My student, I am Jamil, has been going for years. There's a YouTube series we have on him, and the last one was 2,000. He has not kind of moved for a while. And he says, now I'm going to focus on classical chess. Great. I will update my preferred rating. However, I don't yet have a USCF or FIDE rating, and my Lichess rating is provisional. So that's an amazing thing right there, because what he's saying is he got all the way to 2,000 ChessCom without really ever doing OTB. And this is a whole new generation. Sometimes I play Blitz for fun, and what I've been observing is there's all these players rated 26, 2,700 Blitz, and they don't have a title. And I'm like, who are these people, man? And maybe some of them are cheaters, but definitely not all of them, right? So a whole bunch of people who are rising who have never played OTB chess. Okay, here's CC Slammer. Let's go see what's going on. Oh, darn it. Let's do that better. Doop, doop. All right, we'll give him a follow. He's been doing some openings. 25 years old. Started playing chess in the summer of 2020. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. He can graduate again. He's on track to graduate again here pretty quick here. All right. So, he had a bad experiment with the checkmate test. That's something definitely to work on. And we got some clubs here. No clubs. Games. One game. This is CC Slammer. Max Ing 6030. Here's our clock time. There it is. I would say that's a very nice graph for time usage, especially from our hero, white here. So that looks good. And then you can see he's won this game because he starts off, gives himself a clear advantage, and then we have winning. This is a new feature of the dojo. I think we can improve it a little bit, but it's already pretty amazing. All right, game review. Sunday, Lee Chess Arena both have provisional ratings. Check to the miserable king. Okay. It's a little weird, b3, but okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, and c4. By the way, I think this whole, this what you're doing is very highfalutin. And what I mean by that is, it's very delicate, is that the word? It's very hard to understand, subtle, where I think the intention, these original GMs who played bishop b5, was to trade the light square bishop and then play for a c4 bind where we've got rid of our poor light square bishop. Okay, so highfalutin. All right. And d5, yeah. d5 looks at least reasonable for black, and now you played c4, good, and so now we're kind of in the idea of the opening now. Good move. Has to be reasonable. Now, one of the things that, I mean, it's a fascinating hedgehog structure now. One of the things that, I don't know what the computer will say, right? But these things, they're pretty hard to crack. And it's weird because the trading of the bishop gives black a little bit more freedom of motion. Even though it's clearly, it would be a bad bishop at this point if you had it, right? So, a little weird. I think queen c7, I'm going to call more normal. f4, here we go. And you're saying knight g6, f5. Mm-hmm. Good. Mm-hmm. Knight c6, knight c2. All right, a very high fancy move, knight c2. Black has many moves. He plays what I would call a classy move, rook fe8. This is a standard thing in this structure where we are saying that f5 will be met by an uncomfortable opening of the e file, and maybe someday we'll play d5 to also open up the d file. f5. Now, f5 is a very committal move, and honestly something you don't want to do unless you are getting something for it. To my first glance, it doesn't look good because knight e5 is such a beautiful piece. A lot of these positions, once black gets the knight on e5, you ain't doing nothing anymore. you ain't doing nothing fancy no more. So this is what I mean by a highfalutin position. And if f5 doesn't work, then we could consider the building moves king h1 and maybe also a3. All right, f5, knight e5. This looks good to black for me. And then you kind of quickly played fe here. The bummer now is unless we get some kind of trick or something, it's going to be very difficult to actually make progress against black because that knight on e5 is so strong. Okay. And now your opponent, I would say, loses his mind a little bit and plays d5. You talk about knight ed7. I think black has many different moves here. Because the main thing is you're not really doing much. Like, imagine b4. Would you really want to do it? Because you're weakening c4 so much, you know? Hard to say. Anyways, d5, gift for you. Good. Now queen b6, you have c5. CD. I think we're just winning a pawn here, you say. Okay. If this doesn't work, then we could also maybe think about C5. But let's do this, because you say you're winning a pawn. Maybe you are. Looks good to me. And here's the problem. A little friend called 96 is going to appear on the board, and I'm certain that's what black missed. And that's just a real dog. You know what I'm saying? That's a real dog over there. He ain't going nowhere. Yeah. Chad is losing their mind today. He's going to get killed in Vegas, Nose said. Well, you know what, Nose? I would say he might be getting killed in Vegas, but he's aware of that. You know, we sound like we don't want him to go just because he's going to get killed. But more importantly, you should play a training game against the guy. Queen e7 doesn't look convincing. And bishop d4. And now you're killing him. Great. Now, when you're toast, as they say. King h1. I would not trade it just because I never want to lose that knight. Queen h5. Queen f3. Death. Bam! Oh, man. That's not very nice. That's not very nice. That's not very nice. So, very nice game. Crispy critters. Checkmate. CC Slammer. Great game. Great game. Okay. And also, I want to commend you on the use of time. Something actually for all of you to notice. Let's go back to this the time graph here. As we go up the cohort, now we're going to descend, but we started with the strongest players and now we're working our way down. You will see that they, in general, have a time graph like this. And the lower we go, the faster it's going to get, people not using their time. So this is just something to aspire to. An ideal graph, if you like. Okay. We are actually going to get a time rating graph coming up here. Maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll get that time rating graph coming up. This is MN. I recognize this name. This guy's been here forever. MN says, another month, another graduation. By the way, you know, if you're graduating every month and you're below 1,000 and you're working really hard and doing it, that's impressive. But you're getting up to 1,600, 1,700 doing it. Well, that's even more impressive. That's encouraging. Another month, another graduation. I'm beginning to feel like my 2025 hot streak is more luck than skill. So the challenge now is to double down and prove over the coming months that I actually belong in the 1,700, 1,800 cohort. I definitely say, though, that the serious analysis of slow games is helping me to understand the game better. Can you please review my game with Mahmoud? Will do. Sorry about that, Don Mogi. All right. So, boom, boom. Alex Gustafson's here. Oh, Alex, dude. You know, I haven't been really doing PRs, but to hit the old PR on the deadlift yesterday, bows. Oh, damn. Oh, damn. Okay, so 39, business owner, looking good. And actually, a friend of mine was in the gym, and he was like, damn. I hope I'm where you're at in my 6th decade. And I was like, my 6th decade? I hadn't thought about it like that. You know, I'm almost 53, but I guess technically that's true. This is my 6th decade. What was the deadlift? I did 380. And, you know, I think when it gets a little heavier, it's definitely hard for me. 375 was previous. Anyways, I'm mostly doing like a set of 5. So it's rare that I do a 1 rep max. I have a feeling I could have done more. I did a bench press before that. But anyways, I just thought it would be fun to try it out. And I'll tell you, man, you lift that, it's amazing. It's amazing. Just conventional. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people like that trap bar. But I think Alex would say that's not a real deadlift, boss. Come on now. Okay. Yeah, God, Alex is with me. Conventional all the way. Okay, Kraai, you need to focus, buddy. You need to focus. So, Magnus Carlson Nightmare in the YouTube chat says, my age is 15. My FIDE rating 2000. I want to become a super GM. Please give some advice. Tips, sir. Well, join the dojo. Start logging your work every day. I don't know if you can become a super GM, but if you want to do it, you got to put in epic amounts of time. I would say at some point you want a coach to look over your games, have a structure of training here. And that, whether you make it or not, that's what you're going to need to make it to the top. Okay. Dark and Dawn says, buy a time machine. By the way, Sam Shankland, I remember vividly meeting that kid for the first time when he was like 12 or 13. Like me, he started late, like 12 years old. I wasn't 2,000 FIDE at 15, no. Yeah, some of us start a little later, and it's definitely possible to do things. Maybe unlikely, but it's possible to do things. All right, this is MN. Let's go check out his clubs. Now, he can't be European and down under. I don't think that's fair. All right. So, 915 hours, loads of time. This dude's doing the work. Okay, great. Games. We got some games. I definitely encourage you to do a 90-30. Boom. Here's a 60-30. Let's take a look at your clock. And yeah, look at this, my friends. So I'm going to guess this is a random chump from the internet. And what you can see is this person signed up to play an hour 30 game. And they won this game, but they weren't thinking. Right? They won this game. Now, it's got to be said, when you use your time, it doesn't mean necessarily you're going to win the game. It just means it's a strong competitive advantage. It also means you'll be pushing yourself in a way where you can improve. This white player was not doing that. All right, here we go. Okay, fine. Okay. Okay. All right, this is a very fancy system. I've played this myself as white. It is hot. A5. Many different moves you could do. Bishop D3. The first, that's probably not terrible. I think G4 is more consistent. Knight A6, A3. I'm already getting the sense. Maybe you could play this way. Maybe you could play this way. In fact, one of the crazy things about Bishop D3 is it is a little controversial on D3, but if you're going to put a knight on C5, it's very well suited for that knight because it'll back up to C2, and then it's easier for him to push you away with A3, B4. So, some other thoughts here would be knight H5 so that G4 is no longer possible. And then follow, I like, for example, knight H5, maybe G3, maybe then knight D7. Maybe we can bring this here. Maybe we can pop for F5. Okay, knight A6. Knight E8. Interestingly, since white has not castled yet, it leaves open the possibility of a future queenside castle. I debated whether I should start a kingside attack with F5 before white had actually castled kingside. Yeah, and one of the things I tell my students about the King's Indian is basically part of the art is knowing where to put the knight. Sometimes the knight goes here, sometimes here, sometimes here, sometimes here, sometimes even here to get out of the way of the F-pawn. And from white's perspective, the whole idea of this H3 business is to get G4 in and make black have second thoughts about playing the move F5. But I don't think your opponent gets it and plays bishop G5. No good. Good move. Good move. I think you're doing fine. B4. we got ourselves a hot potato. Now, you did knight takes e4. And that's real interesting. The problem with knight takes e4 is, unless we have something special after all that, your opponent is generally going to control the e4 blockade square and will therefore be better. So, I think a move which might look weird to you would be simply knight d7. Because you're hanging this guy over his head. You know, it might look weird, I get it. But you could also play AB, AB, rook A1, queen A1. Maybe this is even better. And then knight D7, right? Because F4 with the smush is a nice thing to hold over the guy's head. Okay, so knight E4, we expect white to be a little bit better here. F5, you say this is equal. I would say white's definitely a little bit better. And now queen h4. Yeah. And now we do want to give you credit for messing with him here. You're doing some good messing because f3 isn't possible. And he can't defend the knight with the queen because of this mumbo jumbo. So that was creative. He goes back. Good move. E4. I like the idea of it. I opted to play this sharp move in order to maximize the value of my dark square bishop. Yeah, I think it's great. I love it. In fact, maybe I have to take back what I was saying about knight e4. Maybe I got to take it back. Because here, you're looking okay. I think you've played this well. Rook b1, that's our call to play ab. Very nice. And now you sync it with rook a3. And you think about it. I do think it's a thinking situation for sure, this rook a3 stuff. Our problem is that if we play knight f6, dude has g3. Now, I think it's fundamentally okay what you're doing. All right, let's just pretend this is okay. I like it. You could do, I think bishop e5 is another candidate move. Rook takes e3 was force, or was a threat, so this makes sense. Knight f6. I think the other move to consider besides knight f6 is bishop e5 with a very delicate position for our friend. Knight f6. I'm not sure what our threat is. You're doing great though. King h2. That doesn't look right. Knight d7. Queen e2. If I was white, I would have considered queen g4. Knight e5, good move. g3, frisky. And now you blew it with knight f3. Yeah, so we're going to say here you had 9 minutes left and you did knight f3 in 2 minutes. Your opponent, again, wasn't thinking at all. There's a lot of things that they were thinking about. I love your position after queen e7. You're going to still get knight f3. You have beautiful pressure here. At some point, we could play rook a2. He cannot mess with you on this file, so you've won the file. So definitely a very sweet position for you here. Yeah. Okay, so unfortunately, this is the blunder that sets us back. Yeah. Well, it's over. Okay, sorry about that. Do I got my winning boots on? Well, I won some games earlier. I've been doing some interesting, back in the day, something I would do is I would play Blitz and then look at the games I played with my files and the engine and yada yada. I haven't done it forever. It's actually kind of enjoyable. So I'm doing that a little bit this morning. Okay. Okay, good. So let's continue That was MN today. Next is Chris L, who doesn't say anything. Let's see what he says. I'm going to give him a follow. Looks like he just joined the dojo. A lot of times when people just join, they haven't put in much. But you can see here, 1777 and looking good. Clubs, nothing. Games, well, we're going to say welcome to the dojo, Chris. And you're doing some endgame work. That's great. Hopefully you can get some games in. Maybe you can play the dojo round robin and get us some annotations we can look out for your next graduation, which comes at 1825, so not very far from now. All right, we'll see you soon, Chris. Next up, we have Gojira. Gojira says, the structure and accountability to post what I actually did today has really helped me focus rather than jump from book to book. The addition of deeper no-engine analysis of all classical games has been a game changer. Really forced me to start to confront my real problems. Finally, a proper introduction to positional play. Love Steen's Simple Chess and slowly actually working through Silman's Reassess Your Chess, instead of just glancing at it every now and then. And that's changing how I evaluate positions and candidate moves. Things are not perfect. I have a long road to travel, but the process is a thing, not the results. The results are getting better too. Since joining, I'm +6 in USCF events, and the average opponent rating for my losses was 1939. Looking forward to more success in 2025. Thank you. I have some club mates who are, let's say, opinionated about the dojo, but I've been doing my best to change their minds the best way possible over the board. That's interesting. I would love to hear what the negative side would be. You know, I feel like I would really love to be in the room. Let's say he's hanging out with some other friends there who are about 1,500, and everybody's maybe read some books at that level. Everybody's gone to some website and various ways of improving, but then maybe somebody has got a real opinion about the dojo. I would love to hear what that is. From my perspective, it's a little bit, the dojo to me is a little bit like CrossFit in the sense that you could criticize it from a variety of perspectives, but when you listen to people who criticize CrossFit from outside, they don't actually know what they're talking about. That isn't to say CrossFit can't be criticized in any variety of ways. I have my own critique, right? But yeah, the people outside of it, it's a system, right? It's a system. So when you're outside of the system, what you're going to do is you're going to criticize the things that look a little weird, right? Instead of actually being inside it and then appreciating what the actual problems, the actual things you could critique are. And that's my little take. Here we go. Here's Gojira. So, adult, hoping to be improver, swinging wildly from 16 to 1800 USCF, 17-something FIDE, but can't seem to stop hanging pieces in ChessCom Rapid. Been grinding Chessable, but don't see practical results. Missed the structure of the Team 45 League on old and beloved ICC. I'm spending the time, need to see results. Well, I guess the good news is you had at least one good tournament right here. So that's great. You've definitely been putting in the work. Look at that. Oh, that's some good work, friend. That's some great work. And actually, I'm sure you wrote that before you had this great result. So it's very encouraging for us at the dojo to see, anytime somebody puts in the work. And at this level, you get up to 1,600, it's not going to be easy. You're at a very competitive state of affairs. What I like to say is if you saw a 1,600 in a gym, he would be that cut bro. He would just be all cut and muscly and mean, And, for your average dude looking at the 1,600 in the gym, we can't even tell the difference between like a 1,600 and a 2,100 by the look of them, right? You wouldn't be able to see it, just both jack dudes. All right, so let's take a look. We got some clubs. 50 plus, there we go. I will tell you, I'm there too. It's great to improve when you're an older dude. I got a tournament coming up myself. And let's see if we got some games here. Okay, so this is John Demastri. Maybe John here is going to be in the senior circuit with me. Here's the time graph. And I think we should say we would want, well, we'll see what happened. But basically around here, around move 30, I'm going to try to remember just move 30. It looks like both players stopped thinking. We'll see what's going on when we get there. Game review. All right. Fine. That to me is a little weird. Because, well, they tell you not to move your queen out, right? Also poor. Now, something very important to say. I did a course called Mastering Time in Chess, and the big feature of that course was the fact that your opponents at this level aren't going to give you free pieces, but they are going to give you time, and taking advantage of that time is the critical piece of your chess development. Like, that's how you're going to get past this next level, because you're going to be playing people like this who don't appreciate time. Okay, so here we go. D4, fine. Knight F3 is, of course, your other option. Queen D6, and now Bishop F3, which I'm not thrilled about, okay? Because it doesn't really do anything. Because he's going to play Knight C6, and then what? So your default move should just be Knight F3. And when you play it, you should say to yourself, oh, I'm up a lot of tempi. He's going to have to play E6 at some point. He's going to have to, or rather, some pawn move to get the bishop out, right? So, for example, E6. Now, let's count. Let's pretend that this is a developed piece. We'll pretend. Then we're going to say we have 1, 2, 3, and it's our move, right? So we have 3 extra developing moves. And that is generally like worth a pawn. So 3 tempi. And here, you know, you don't have to be genius, just castle. All right, here we go, Bishop F3. So you lose a tempo when you do this. Bishop F4, you say is better immediately. Bishop E3. Now here, the whole point of your knight E2 thing was to play Bishop F4, Bobs. Come on now. A3, oh, no, you're just losing time. E5, maybe a good move. Bishop C6, and you call this equal. To my mind, you might be a hair better here. Okay, good move. Knight D5, you don't like it. If you don't like it, tell us what you think he should have done. Good move. He's going for his cheap tricks. Rook FD1. Okay. Now, it's funny. When you played Rook FD1, I was like, well, maybe Bishop G4. So that feels like you're kind of walking into it. One of the things I want to note from my own games is that I often will make a mistake when I have thought forever on a move, like you did here. You thought for 7 minutes. And the reason is you're kind of lost about what to do, and then you end up playing something where you overlook something probably you would never overlook in a normal situation. So let's ground ourselves a little bit in this position. The problem isn't necessarily we're going to win this pawn, but it is weak, and we have this great blockade square. So our candidate moves should be things like knight b6, knight c5, bishop c5, all playing with those squares. And of course, we just want to make sure that nothing wild happens to us on like bishop g4, bishop h3. Bishop h3, we always have this move, right? But now, unfortunately, we don't. And you talk about bishop e3, that's obviously sad. g3 is a real pain. Rook e1, boom. And then we're crispy critters. Okay. Now, I just want to say, actually, Queen E3 probably works, but what are you doing, buddy? You're up a piece. You don't need to be fancy and pin yourself. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he let you play knight e2. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. And now what we can see is this, you now have a little bit of an excuse for moving so fast here, because honestly, this is resignable right here, right? How is my aqua aerobics going? Oh, yeah, dude. It's aqua aerobics for me. All right, so Goyira is got some stuff where he's playing some good chess, but he's definitely hanging some stuff in his games. Okay. Let's bring in those club mates, bud. Let's bring them in. All right, next up we have Oberlus. Oberlus is, oh, this guy's here all the time, man. Let's go check him out. He is graduating all the time. Basque Irish middle-aged chap. Okay. So, 1510, he's playing on the Lee chess. Notice as we go down, we're getting more and more people playing with online ratings. He's done some he had a hard time with our checkmate tests, and they really dragged him down. So definitely working on the mates is something he should prioritize. Clubs, Irish, great. Oh, I wish we could have more than 21. Activity, beautiful. Games. All right, so these are all ancient games, though. So Oberlus, we know what we need. We need some new games from you. And here we can see you're doing other things, but definitely I would want a newer game for us to look at. But congratulations on graduating. And you're not far from the next graduation over here. Slack Psychic asks, why is Maiden 2 so helpful? I did a video on it. You can find that on YouTube if you want a deeper dive. But basically, for anybody, it helps improve the grip, your mind's grip on the board, which pieces are controlling which squares, being really exact about it. And the mating pattern themselves are the layups of chess, i.e. something you need to be able to do in an almost unconscious state. May the farce be with you, says Zen Schulte. Okay. Zen hasn't been doing too much on the ye old scoreboard. Not quite there with the graduation. Got a nice tactics rating from the Nederlanden games. And here we got a 30-0. Now, I'm trying to be a real jerk face about the time controls. And it's important to note that for this cohort, let's just take a look here. 30-0, yeah, it just doesn't work. So that's really only for the under 800 crowd. And so we want to be deliberate about it and really get the good time control in there. All right, so let's continue. Keith is next. Keith has been on the show a number of times. Keith says, love the program. It's still hard to take the good advice and continue to take the time and sit down analyzing the games. The same goes with using my time during the games. I'm easily caught up with the pace if my opponent is also moving fast. I'm enjoying Jesse's Chessable course. Thank you very much. We talked about that earlier. I've never looked at time as being so concrete, and I need to remember these principles in the game. Thank you for the dojo and the guidance. Wonderful. Okay, so here we go. This is Keith. All right. He's got a 6-year-old. I got an 8-year-old daughter. Oh, yeah, I remember Keith. Okay, this is great. So 1409, look at that rating graph. Welcome to the dojo. Look at this heat map. He is bringing it. Lots of tactics. Okay. 1561, that looks great. Clubs. Oh, he's up there in New Hampshire. Okay. And now we have, I remember, quies phasmatis. Now, quies, I want to stress what I said earlier. These 30-0 games are not appropriate for you. This is the one, though. So let's look at your 90-30. Open Classical Round 6. Beautiful. Okay, so this is an inner dojo game. And here's our clock graph. And, well, what we see is people moving too fast. People moving too fast. Okay, and he mentioned that, I believe. Am I right? Do I have the right person? I'm easily caught up with the pace of my opponent is also moving fast, right? So what that means is a very important psychological thing to appreciate. Is you're going to play a lot of people online, over the board too, but especially online, where they're going to be distracted and they're going to be blitzing their moves, and it's going to feel intimidating. It's going to feel like, oh, this guy's amazing. He doesn't even need to think. Or maybe he's all got this opening all dialed in. He doesn't have it dialed in. He's just moving fast. And so that encourages us, like this reptilian response, to go fast ourselves. And there's no point in playing a longer game, right? When we're doing it like this. Okay, so, yeah, both players really didn't use any time. He spent more time analyzing this game than he did playing it. All right, here we go, game review. Question here from Eric Blair. Did Dojo students log the PGN or FEN manually, or are the accounts linked to Lichess accounts? Wondering how that works. So, let's say you play a game on Lichess. Then what you will do is there is a share button there, and you just bring it in to the games. Over here, games at the top. Oh, actually, you can't see it, excuse me. But there's a games tab. You say, and it'll give you the option to enter PGN. Copy and paste that thing. Boom, it's right there. I would say with Lichess, you got to be careful with the settings because it's very aggressive with pushing computer analysis at you. And like I've said many times, it's okay to check with the computer after. But if you look at what the computer says instantly, you're not going to be able to think about the game yourself, right? All right, here we go. Fine. Oh, this is fancy. This is actually, I think I did a YouTube video on this. This is hot stuff here. Queen G5, as prepared, but it is tricky. Because with preparation comes fast moves. I would not be able to slow down for the rest of the game. And it was a short game at that. A good lesson for me. Okay. So, knight F3 looks poor to me. Queen G2, now you're doing great. Rook G1, Queen H3, beautiful. Knight C3, and now you play Bishop D6 after thinking a minute and 25 seconds. Okay, so, right, you already know it, but we're going to say it for the crowd. The most important lesson of this game is that you move too fast. And this is definitely the moment to be thinking. Notice that Knight C3, it's the knight, the queen's knight, as we say, is uncomfortable because it doesn't really want to go to C3 where it's going to block the bishop, right? And here in this position, you're doing great. You got your pawn back, and this unopposed bishop is a beast long term. It's a beast. Look at these weaknesses over here, right? Okay, so here we go. Knight C3, Bishop D6. That's just weird too. Because now you got to think about Knight D5, Rook G7, all this stuff. Boom. Bishop G4, and now Knight G5. I guess that's an exclam right there. And I guess he's winning, right? Oh, man. Oh, all our coconuts hung. Okay. Good. So, I'm sure, Quies, that you probably hoped I had chosen a different game, but I think one of the great things about analyzing our games is we don't just do the pretty ones. I definitely have a lot of games where it's nasty, and I know my coach is going to yell at me, but it's definitely part of the process. And here we see what you need to do, and I do think if you can slow it down, that will take you, that's definitely worth a whole cohort right there. Okay, so We'll go back to grad show. Now, Mark, another permanent graduator here. French, live in Metz. Right, I remember Mark. Doing a lot of opening work. 1447. Got a similar FIDE rating. Got a nice tactics rating. So he's doing it. The French Dojo Club. Nice. Here we go. Games. And what we can see here is that Mark has not been focused on his games. These games I probably already looked at. In fact, they're from a year ago. So he's doing amazing work. You can tell, right? It's opening and tactics, and he needs to be analyzing his games. He is playing, right? He is playing. Adult improver to permanent graduator. That's right. Okay, Mark. Good. Next up, we have I don't know. My 6-year-old likes to be in the back of the car and say, "What does FUC spell?" Trying to get his sister to say it. What does it spell? What does it spell? Can you just please tell me? What does it spell? All right, congratulations. You're doing a lot of playing. Okay. Clubs, 50 plus. We got a lot of older dudes here. Austin Dojo. Austin Dojo, it only has 19 members, but I think some of the core people, well, definitely one of the core people here. Nose is there. Jack Stingline is there. We just had a dude on who is also there, going to be in, his name's Shock Steele, actual name Zach Rivkin. So he's active there. We got loads of people in the Austin area. And I think they should be having a party over there, dude. You know, at least a little social get together. Here we go, some games. Nothing. Oh, you've been playing too. We see it. We need to see something from you. But you're not going to get me to spell FUC. My kids taught me well. Boss, please review the Onarxis game and peep the time graph. It looks smooth. Okay, will do. By the way, you can always see here on the right, this is a reflection of the work they did to make it to the next level. And so this guy who we just looked at, even though he didn't have any game annotations, he is doing a lot of work. And 111, a lot of work. All right, so here we go. Boom. Wow. Steps Method Enjoyer, Coconut Destroyer. Nice. That could be a rap. You get David do a rap for you. Very nice. I wonder what he's doing games and analysis. It's non-dojo. Maybe we'll take a look. Got some good tactics score. Let's go activity. I want to see what that non-dojo tactics games analysis is. So it doesn't really tell me. Like, yeah, what is it over here? Games and analysis custom. But what is it? What is it? Maybe if I go activity down here, it'll tell me. He's doing all kinds of custom tasks. How to make. Oh, maybe it's the steps program thing he's doing. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so I think his name is Onarxis. There he is. Onarxis versus Solar Boy. We got a time graph, and my friends, is it smooth? It's very smooth. When they talk about smooth jazz, this is the kind of thing they're talking about. Yeah. Now, I want to stress, these graphs can sometimes look like black pushed it to the very limit. In fact, though, what happened is at the end, he still has 9 minutes left, so he's doing fine. And here with 30-second increment, he's going to be fine as well. You can see here, this is his own eval graph that he looks like, said from his perspective, looks like it moves down pretty smoothly. This is some, I have a whole improvement here that I want to bring in, but this is, let's call this beta here. We're beta on this eval graph. Okay, game review. All right. Group review with Keith plus senior moments. Dojo Classical, round 5. Oh my gosh, here we go. E5, knight B3, Bishop e6. Right. Okay. So, f3. Good. I don't like that move. You said, I assumed white was going castle since I was ready with b5 now. And castles he calls dojo. Castles along dojo theory. I think one of the things to appreciate about bishop e2 is once you play f3, you're really kind of set up to eventually play for g4, g5. Maybe at some point knight d5. It's not clear, however, that the bishop belongs on e2. That's the problem, right? Okay, so castles long, I guess, would be thematic here. b5. I would prefer queen c7 or knight d7, but this is probably okay. Castles. b4. I don't know. Maybe. This is going to encourage him to play knight d5. And now we have a big question. This is, I think, one of the big Najdorf questions. Now, one little problemito is our knight isn't developed, and that's making me a little nervous. But let's pretend you're doing fine here. You take, and then I'm hoping you played a5. Good. Now, interesting momentito. The bishop on e2 is a little weird. And he plays king b1 now. Makes sense. Queen d7. Taking away the b5 square from the light square bishop. So let's just say what's making me nervous is your knight on b8. It feels like he needs some attention, as they say. White, however, needs a plan. White needs a plan. And it's not easy to be white here, to know what to do. Let's see what he comes up with. g4. Okay, we're going to call that thematic. One of the weird things now, though, is the value of g4, I think, is really just in pushing the knight away. It's not, we're not really going to mate you anytime soon. a4, here we come. b3, I don't know. Knight a6 to prepare b3. It is not ready. Good. And what I want to stress is something I talked about in this Mastering Time course is you got to fix your pieces. So you have a strategic idea with a4, b3, often good, but your pieces aren't mobilized. This guy, he's got to be doing something. And like I said, in this position, it's a little hard to know what exactly he's supposed to do, right? Okay, so here we go. b3. I don't know about that. And now you can keep, so if you played cb, ab, a3, I think he's doing great because you have the weak pawn and you're permanently shut in. Now, at least you get the b file. Good. Okay, I still want you to play knight a6. Okay. Good. f4, I don't know. Good. That's poor. So now you're going to get the dark square bishop. You're doing great. And your knight's going to get that d6 square. Beautiful. I don't know what he's doing. Probably put the bishop on d4 or rook b8. Simple chess. Oh, that's going to hurt. Full load, he says. Yeah, that's the full load. And that's the signs that we say resigns. The signs that we say resigns. Ah, yeah. It's time to resign, buddy. Check the miserable king. So that was great. And again, great use of time. And I think it's a very valuable lesson that when you're starting out in that early middle game, to fix your poor piece. Another way of saying it is what you were doing is a very common kind of mistake, which I call playing with your pretty pieces, right? So it's like you didn't know what to do with the knight. So instead you're like, well, I'll forget about him for a little bit. He'll figure it out later. I got these other pretty toys to play with. Now you got to fix the bows. Resistencia asks, what is this? This is the Graduate Training Program's graduates, the people who have gained 100 points, and have moved up in the Dojo Training Program. All right, beautiful. Next up, we have Rookbird, and Rookbird says, oh, it's our last graduation of the day. Long games, let's fix this, in dojo tourneys and on lead chess have helped improve me play thoughtfully and cut down on blundering habits from my 15-10 days. Chernev's instructive games has been a good source of middle game ideas. Great. Fantastic. So, 1320, dude's ready to graduate again, doing a lot of tactics and some end games, middle games. Looks beautiful. Yep. Clubs. Okay. Doing some work. Games. We got a game, 30-30. Now let me just look here. So at 1200, I just want to stress, oh, actually, so under 1200, which he was, he's allowed to play 30-30, and now the minimum time control is 45-30. Okay, so here we go. Time graph. Oh, that's pretty smooth looking right there. Pretty smooth right there. That looks good. Okay, from both players. So I'll mark that as reviewed. Here's Rookbird. So far, so good. Beautiful. Bishop G4. And now I guess we're going to call this a minor blunder with Knight BD2. And your opponent says, thank you very much. Now, maybe it's not that bad yet. Here we go. Rook E1. Knight E4, I think, should be our default move. Okay. So Rook E1, F5. This is very frisky to play F5. But if he can do it, he should definitely play it. All right. Yeah, and you find a great move in here. So this is the variation you find. Boom, 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 exclam. Boom, boom, and you're taking all his coconuts. Now, I want to just ask a little question, though. One variation we should look at is 96. We can't trade queens and then take on G4 because we'll get mated. So maybe Queen E2. And maybe Black's just done. Maybe Black is just done, but I could play, it's hot. You know, it's kind of hot. Maybe Bishop F5 or something. Anyways, this would be something to look at in your variation. So now he's just up oh, this is really weird. So I thought that he was going to play Knight C6. And then I don't know quite how you get at him. That knight is a real beast on E4. But this looks like a mistake. And then we got to evaluate that position, right? So Knight F3, Bishop C5 looks bad for us. Queen A4 check. I assume he's just winning now. Queen F6. And now castles look strong, right? Queen F6. F3. Now, by the way, I have a little bit of experience with positions like this. And it might look like we're winning a piece. And maybe we are. But the position is now going to explode. And white is not going to be very well developed here. So Bishop H5 was played. And what Black should at least consider here is castles, with the thought that however you take, I'm going to open up this F file and it's going to at least be a little scary. Okay? So Bishop H5, you said thank you very much. He castles just like that? What are we doing? Now when you take this way, now the F file isn't open. You're doing great now. Oh, what a gift. Now you're just chewing him up now. That's a good looking move. That's a good looking move. That's an amazing move. Look at that protection of L Rook here. Oh, you have no fear. Dang. All right. He's mopping him up here. Dang, take it easy, buddy. Dang. Okay, so good analysis. And if anything, maybe the analysis could be a little bit deeper as with the moves I mentioned. And here, I guess we're going to say it's a little bit of blindness. Now, by the way, a lot of times, if you're just playing principled moves, such as knight bd2, even if you make a mistake, like allowing knight takes d4, it's still, you're not going to go down. You're not going to go down. I think, that's not necessarily a losing thing. Probably it's equal after knight takes e4. Okay, so here we go. Oh, that was it. That was it. End of the show. I got to get out of here. We're going to do some dojo meetings, hopefully, and stuff. Maybe it might be around tomorrow. Maybe this weekend. In any case, we are here. This is the Dojo Training Program. We need you to join the program. We need more people in this program. So thank you for being here. We're going to raid somebody. Who should we?